Okay, so here we are. We have filled out our paperwork for the day. And me as a supervisor, whether it's Michelle or Bob or Ron or Dave or whoever, is reviewing your paperwork, and these are the things that I'm looking for. I'm looking on your sheet here to make sure that our production hours line up. We've got 33 hours of production. We've got accounted for non-production hours of 8 hours in the course of a day. And that's almost 25% of non-billable, or I should say non-billable, but non-production hours, for a total of 41 hours. And then I'm looking across here to make sure all my payroll hours are accounted for. 10, 20, 30, 40 plus a quarter each is 41 hours. So my time is all accounted for. That's the first thing I'm looking for, is my time accounted for. If I've got 33 hours of production or 15 hours of non-production, and I'm really taking a closer look at why I have this so much unproductive time. As a foreman, it is your job to keep your crew as productive as possible and minimize the fussing around time. So here's the three jobs that we were on: Richards, McMahon, and Smith, and those are the total man hours for each job. Okay, so we had our meeting time from 7 to 7:15. I'm the one that's talking. I know that's legitimate time. Okay, and it looks like right after the meeting, you guys jumped in your truck and left, which is great. So then next, I'm looking at travel time. So this is travel time, 4 hours in between jobs. Okay, and so we'll take a look at that closer, but and then our return to shop. So from the time we punched out of our last job to the time we punched out for the day, we had 45 minutes. And I would suggest that we wrote gas station in here, because we went to the gas station. So we know we went to the gas station, and we drove back to the shop, and then we unloaded and whatnot. So you might put gas station, unload, okay, for 3 hours. So all this is required time to get this done. Okay, so we want to spread out this time over the other customers' times when it's time for us to bill. But we want to know what this time is. Now, if we had a flat tire here, let's say we had 4 guys for an hour to change a flat tire. Okay, so we'd have 4 hours of non-production time here. That's not something I'm going to charge to the customer. It wasn't the customer's fault that we got a flat tire. Okay, so we're not going to bill that time to the customer. But I am going to bill them travel time, and I'm going to bill them a little bit of training time, safety talk, or whatever that might have been. I'm going to bill them for going to the gas station, because the customer consumes the gas. So that's why it's important that this time is broken out. So these are my daily job sheets. So this is how we pay the employees, okay? And this is how we bill the customers. So this is a computer-generated work order. So we left the shop at 7:15. I should be able to just follow this, in a very logical and sequential order. So from 7:15, we knew we had our meeting from 7 to 7:15. We jumped in our truck, 7:15 to 7:45. We drove to Jim Richards. Okay, so there's 15 minutes, or half an hour, I should say, times 4 guys is 2 hours of travel time. And then Dave, Ron, Tyler, and Joe, we started working at 7:45. We pulled up to their driveway, and we worked until 11:15. It's 3.5 hours times 4 is 14 man hours. Okay, and what we did is, we look over here as to what we're supposed to do: aerate, brush, Hurricane is a machine. Here we took 2 yards of brush away, some bunch of limbs we put in the truck. We used 10 pounds of grass seed. We used 5 pounds of fertilizer. We did use our Hurricane blower for an hour, and we used our leaf vac, our Snuffy, for half an hour. Now both of these this is a $10,000 machine, and this is a $12,000 machine. Especially in the fall, this says spring cleanup, but in the fall, these are used much more often than in spring. But they're only used for like 4 to 6 weeks a year. So we need to bill individually for that time. A thing like a lawnmower is used so much, we can incorporate that into our hourly rate. But on a machine that's used sporadically and not a lot, we need to bill specifically for that. So it's very important that higher priced machines, except for lawnmowers, weed whackers, and blowers, get written down specifically as to how long you used them. You can look at the hour meter and write start and stop times. Preferably you're doing a little bit better than a guesstimate, but a guesstimate will do in a pinch. We want to just write down we mowed the lawn with the dethatcher and we aerated, and that took an hour, and we had 3 yards of leaves and grass, okay, that we brought back with us. And we always put our date down here. It would be wise if we put who filled out the paperwork so that I can perhaps ask that person if I have questions. So then my next stop was right next door. Now, when the crew left, maybe they only had one work order for a reason, or maybe they did have multiple ones, and Michelle or somebody called and dispatched this out to you, because you're always going to have these sheets in your truck, in your clipboard. And she said, hey, you know what, we just got our service renewal in for Dina McMahon, you're right next door, I want you to change the plan and go to this house next. So there you are. So you left here at 11:15, and now we're punched in for 11:45. Where'd that half hour go? Over here we can see we have 11:15. We punched out for lunch, half hour lunch to 11:45, and now we are back on the job. 11:45 to 3:30. It's 3 3/4 hours, 15 hours total. We really didn't have any travel time because we were right next door. We didn't even have to move the truck. We've got 1 yard of brush. We used some seeds, fertilizer, we aerated the lawn, and we mowed and dethatched. Okay? So now we go to our final job of the day, and this is at Mrs. Smith's on Cottage Street in Hudson. So now we're heading back. It probably took us close to half an hour to get there. So we've got 3:30 when we left to 4 o'clock. Half an hour times 4 guys is 2 hours. So from 4 to 5 we were there for an hour. It's a small little job. So we've got 4 hours of production. There's 2 hours of travel. That's 50%. That's a lot of travel for a small job. And then the mower, and we mowed and dethatched, and we aerated, and we just had 1 yard of like leaves and grass. It wasn't brush. Okay. So brush is something that's billable that we need to charge the customer by the yard for, because we have to pay to dump it. The leaves and grass, we want to know how much that is. It's much less expensive to get rid of leaves and grass. Generally we compost it and often don't bill it at all. But so now we see that at the end of the day, from 4 o'clock until, or from 5 o'clock when we left that job to 5:45 when we punched out, we had 45 minutes times 4 guys. Okay, so 5 to 5:45, we went to the gas station and we filled all our machines and trucks, and we unloaded when we got back to the shop, and we traveled back to the shop. So also, if there was any receipts, which there aren't in this situation, because grass seed and all that, we're not going to the store to buy that. We're taking that out of our inventory, so we don't need that. But let's say we did have to go buy something. We would want to attach any receipts. We would want to write the customer's name on the receipt of where that material went to. We're going to make sure that we've got that written down in the material, like the dump fee or for the grass seed or whatever, and make sure that's turned in on an every single day basis. Okay? So now, when I go to bill this, I'm going to ask myself, okay, I've got 2 hours of travel time to Jim Richards. I got no travel time to Dina. I've got 2 hours back to Smith when he's only a half a mile from the shop. But we were coming from Sudbury, and then we've got some other time here. So I am probably going to go back, and I'm going to bill. I'm going to spread these general condition times to all of the customers somewhat evenly. This isn't something you as a foreman do, but just so the way that we think and the way that we're billing. So, we've got 8 hours here of time, all of which, is related to getting the jobs done. So if I bill, 3, 6, 9, if I bill 3 hours each, That'd be 9 hours. I'm probably going to bill about 2.5 hours each. So I'm going to probably bill 16.5 hours for Jim Richards. I'll bill 15, 17.5 for Dina, and I'm going to bill. I might even bill a little bit less. I might only bill just 2 for Smith because it's such a smaller job. So we still may not have 100% of payroll billed, but we will be fairly close. We will be fair with the customers, and it wouldn't be fair for Jim Richards to pay all 2 hours, of travel time to his house and have Dina pay nothing because she just happened to be the second house right next door. So we want to be fair with our distribution of our general condition time. General condition time is real time, and it is a real cost that needs to be passed on to our individual clients. Much like you would expect to pay UPS to deliver you a package, the customer should expect that we need to deliver them their service. And it costs a lot of money to have 4 guys sit in the truck for 15 minutes or a half an hour, and pay for the fuel, pay for the truck, pay for the trailer, and everything involved in transportation in order for us to come and service their property. So that is a real cost that needs to be passed on. Our goal is to bill 100% of payroll, okay? So if we are billing less than 100% of payroll, we are not being as efficient as we could be. And that eats into profits as increased costs without a compensating revenue. So it is our goal to bill as much as possible of our day. Yet we have to be fair and reasonable for our clients on the other side. We can't just pile on all these hours and be way over budget from what was estimated if it was a new sale, or way over last year's time because your crew isn't as efficient as another crew. So when I go ahead and actually I've dispersed the hours, but then I need to ask myself, did I what is the dollars, what's the price I'm going to bill this customer? And it may not be a linear number from what it actually took us to get it done. If we are way over budget, we're not going to probably bill the entire thing. We're going to end up eating it. If it's way under budget, there's probably a reason why. Why did it take so much less time this year than last year? And I probably won't bill the whole amount. I will be fair and bill them hourly for the time that it took. So it's a balancing act between getting paid for all of our time versus being fair and honest with the client, and so that's very key. If you don't fill your paperwork out quickly, you will be questioned on it. It does cause problems. The problems multiply down the line with, from your manager to the billing, Raymer and Kathy and Kim, and from them to the clients, and the clients back to them, back to the manager, back to you, back to the manager, back to the customer. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle that needs to end. There's no need of that cycle if we are accurate and complete on an everyday basis. Paperwork must be turned in at the end of every single day. Okay, you may have had 3 more jobs that you didn't get to that day, which is fine. But if that's turned in at the end of the day, and then it's reviewed by your supervisor, she says, oh, these jobs didn't get done, I'm going to reschedule those for tomorrow so that they get back in the queue. If you have that sitting in your truck for 3 days and not turn it in, the manager may not recognize that you didn't get those jobs done, and they may not be done for an extra week or something. There are customer commitments that could have been made and say we'll be there by a certain day. And so it's just really, really important that we have that complete and timely feedback loop. So, it's just not acceptable not to turn your paperwork in on an everyday basis. So you are officially trained, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. This style of reporting the travel time and that is critical for services like spring and fall cleanups, pruning, mulching, composting,